Hey guys, welcome back to the range. Today I wanted to do a video for you that honestly I've tried filming 3 times now, and the first one got killed by the wind. The last 2 in the last few minutes have been killed by just me getting on rabbit trails and just kind of going off on wild tangents. So let's focus. Okay, why I allowed my SOT to go. For those that don't understand what SOT is, Special Occupational Tax. I currently am an FFL 07, which is Manufacturer of Firearms. I also used to be an SOT2, which is manufacturer of machine guns, short-barreled rifles, and suppressors. It's awesome. Don't get me wrong, guys. It's awesome to have machine guns. They're fun. They're a lot of fun to shoot, but from a realistic, tangible self-defense tool standpoint, they're damn near worthless. Seriously, they're damn near worthless, and I'll give you proof on that one in just a little bit. I got into it as a magazine writer because I was constantly dealing with SBRs. I didn't get into it for the machine guns. I got into it for the short-barreled rifles because that is my specialty. From ages back, guys, I'm the originator of the Spikes Tactical Compressor. That is a short-barreled rifle that I helped develop. Dynamite gun, love that gun. And I was tired of the constant paperwork issues that came with dealing with SBR. So I was like, screw it. I got my SOT and that was it. Because once you have your SOT, then all you're talking about is 2 minutes. 2 minutes of paperwork. You literally do the paperwork on the receiver, you press print, and once you press print, you're done. That literally is legally now an SBR. And all you then do is drop it in an envelope and send it off to the ATF. And actually now you can do it digitally. And here's what you guys don't understand. As an SOT, you're not asking for permission from the ATF. You're merely informing them of what you have done. That's the difference. Sounds awesome, right? Right up to the part where June comes rolling around every year and you got to roll off 500 big ones to the ATF. Every year I had to pay $500 to the ATF. It was due in July. I had to pay $500 to the ATF to maintain the SOT. The FFL is only like $165 every 3 years. I mean, that's nothing. But the SOT is 500 bones every stinking year, and it gets old real quick because whether you manufacture 1 or 1,000 of whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all actually whether you manufacture 0 or 1,000, it's always $500. What kind of killed the SOT for me was AR-15 pistols, and then AR-15 pistols with the braces, the really nice braces that are ergonomically correct, that actually function properly for the user. And all of a sudden, man, I just kept getting deeper and deeper and going, bro, what is the point of having my SOT? At this point, it's nothing but bragging rights, and bragging rights is stupid. What was the beginning of the end for me, the real beginning of the end for me on this stuff, was actually not just 3 years ago, it was actually all the way back in 2011. Back then, I went out to train with Larry Vickers for law enforcement military CQB. He held the class at Blackwater. And in that class, I was, the first day of the class, it was about 22 of us or so. Guys, by the way, the article for this class is on my website, and I think I've got it tagged as Larry Vickers, Law Enforcement Military CQB. Go to tier1citizen.com, click on the article section, you're going to find it there, have at it. You can download all the articles there and read them. But in this class, we did, I want to say it was 20 or 22 of us. We did the first day of flat range. We got into the shoot houses on, I believe, on day 2. And I was paired up with a young man who was just entering law enforcement. And actually, I had just left law enforcement like a month or 2 before, or a couple months before. I forget how long it'd been. We're stacked up one day, we're stacked up on day 2 in the shoot house, and we get ready to make entry. And I get up on my partner, and I get right up behind him, and I place my hand on his shoulder, and I whisper, half speed. It's in the article. I whisper half speed, and I give him the squeeze, and then he goes. I clear him left, I start clearing my corner right, I swing around, and just as I swing around, I see my target, and I'm like, Krah! And I crack off a full auto burst. This is not in the article. I crack off a full auto burst, dead center in the chest of the bad guy. Perfect. I mean, it was a Coke bottle class group of like 5, 6, 7 rounds. I mean, it was just really fast because the Daniel Defense Mark 18 cycles really fast. So I cracked off a burst in the middle of the chest of this thing, and it was textbook. All of a sudden, I see this multicam streak come by me into the room. It was Larry. Larry reaches over and sort of pushes at Lynn's shoulder just a little bit. And then he places his hand on me and he goes, all right, clear, stop. And he looks at me. In fact, I'm going to take my ear pro off because I want you guys to see my eyes when I do this. All right, so Larry comes in the room and he puts his hand on my shoulder. Watch my eyes, guys. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, Abner, did you just go full auto on that? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, did you mean to? And I'm thinking, there's no way to accidentally go full auto. It's a very distinct click, click to go full auto. And I said, yes, sir. And watch my eyes, guys. He goes like this. There's no room for full auto in the CQB environment. He goes, this is hostage rescue. There's no room for full auto. And I remember thinking, what the hell are you talking about, Larry? Bro, this is where full auto is supposed to be. Now, of course, that shows my naivete, my lack of experience, the brashness and stupidity of who I was back then. And I'll tell you what he meant by that. In fact, I'll show you what he meant by that. Watch this.
Come to the next room. She goes in, dude shoots at her with a shotgun, and she hits him with a full auto burst from her M4. Here's the problem with that. They're there for a hostage rescue situation. Full auto in CQB really has no place, especially in a situation where you may have hostages involved. So, and if you look at how a selector is manipulated on an M4 carbine, safety straightforward, horizontal straightforward, you flip it 90 degrees, it's semi, and you flip it 90 degrees from that, a total of 180 is full auto. It's a deliberate effort. Unlike with the MP5, where it was easy to sweep from safe, semi, and all the way inadvertently to full auto, the M4 carbine is pretty difficult, which means she'd have had to have this thing on full auto pretty much before she ever even entered the room. Not really cool, and that's the one thing that I would point out. It was really for movie's sake, but doesn't really play in the real world.
All right, so based on what you just saw, Larry breaks it down for you. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I stumbled on this video, the video I just showed you about a month or so ago, and I went, whoa, that's literally what he said to me that day in the shoot house, which I didn't even realize it had actually, that day had begun to imprint on me the uselessness of full auto. And it ultimately led me away from it. What he's getting at is, if he wasn't clear enough, what he's getting at is this environment right here. If I enter this room and I decide to go from safe to fire, and then I push one more, this is not a machine gun, and I push one more to full auto, and I'm like ready, I'm all jucked up and ready to go, yeah. And I think that my solution in this room is gonna be a full auto solution, and all of a sudden I come up and I realize this is not a full auto solution. I may pull that trigger, and instead of getting a pop, what I'm gonna get is a crack. And what does it do to your gun? It actually does this to you. In fact, if you watch this video right here, every time that you pull the trigger, whether it's suppressed or not, that gun's gonna bounce on you just a little bit, because it's just what it's gonna do. It's the dynamics of that, of the bolt and the buffer, and the buffer, jeepers, I can't think today. The bolt, the spring, and the buffer flying back and forth, and it's gonna kind of kick you a little bit. Whereas a semi-auto round, whether I'm dealing with the front guy, or whether I'm dealing with the back guy, what I want is the ability to put a round specifically on the head, on the face of the person that I'm dealing with. I don't want to put 5, 6, 7 rounds on them. I want to put one round on them. Now that we actually have video footage of what it actually looks like to get overrun, I hate to do this, Kyle Rittenhouse. God bless that kid. Kyle Rittenhouse. He got overrun. He had the presence of mind to move. He had the presence of mind to realize when it was time to stop moving. He got knocked down when it was time to stop moving and start pulling the trigger. I'm going to allow the juries to deal with this. I'm not going to get into it. The point is, where would he be had he had a machine gun? Where would he be if he'd gone crack, 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 crack? He would have been empty. Guys, he would have been empty. The last thing you want to be dealing with is an empty gun when the enemy is right here on you. And that's what was happening to me. I was going to classes and I was buzzing off so many rounds so rapidly that I was constantly running out, which by the way is what this rig is about. I always have extra ammo on me, even if I'm not wearing a chest rig or a plate carrier, because as a machine gun shooter, I was running through ammo like a fool. And now I realize what I have right now is 30, 60, 90. 90 rounds, okay? 90 rounds for my long gun. With all honesty, once again, go back mentally to the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. If you can't contend with the problem within 90 rounds, you probably should be vacating the area. These are things that are becoming a bigger reality, and I think people are starting to see the bigger picture here in America. And I'm actually glad that now I don't have to say imagine, if you will, because now you can actually see it happening around us. Which is why I go back to the beginning of this. Now you understand why I allowed my machine gun manufacturers to go. Because remember, once it stopped being about machine guns for me, and I pushed it off to the side, then really all that was left was short-barreled rifles and suppressors. In fact, let me clarify that and I'll leave you with that. The SOT then only became about short-barreled rifles and suppressors. Okay, so short-barreled rifles are now made null and void by AR-15 pistols. So now we put this over here with the machine guns. SBRs, irrelevant now. All that's left is suppressors. Suppressors are not like SBRs, where SBRs require paperwork to travel from state to state. And by the way, when I allowed my SOT to lapse, I gave up the ability to cross state lines whenever I feel like it. And where I live in Tennessee, I live in Chattanooga, and where I live in Tennessee, within 3 minutes, I can be in Georgia by accident. There's the obvious 75, right? Like I know I'm crossing into Georgia, but there are areas in Chattanooga where you go, boop, whoops, I just went into Georgia. But there is an AR-15 pistol version of this, and suppressors don't have the same restrictions that SBRs do, and you can travel all over creation with a suppressor. So a suppressor, with all honesty, you're better off buying that can, doing the paperwork for the can, and just getting the can itself, the $200 tax stamp, one time and you're done. With all honesty, incorporating Larry's video into this, I know lends credibility to this, because people, whenever I've tried to have this discussion with people, I get the yeah but scenario. But guys, you literally heard it from a former Delta operator. Larry's a friend. Larry knows that I'm very serious about what I do. He knows that I take this with the level of respect that it deserves, which is why I say to you guys, if you don't want to hear it from me, take it from Larry. Machine guns have a very, very narrow window of usability. They're cool to watch, they're definitely cool to learn about, and they are things that you should learn about whenever possible. With all honesty, I can kind of liberate you now and make you go, yeah, machine gun, whatever, yeah, SBR, whatever, because in reality, you can have everything you want in an AR-15 pistol and a suppressor. And yeah, if you can afford a suppressor, do it. But remember this one thing. Suppressors are not, they're a pleasure to shoot, because they take the bang, especially when you're shooting behind barriers, they take the bang away from the report of the rifle, but they barf in your face. Just those couple of rounds that I fired, I can feel it in my respiratory system breathing this stuff. So keep that in mind. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out and practice. Have a good one.